We grooving.
This meeting is being recorded.
We are back with the 52 Art Challenge, and we were just talking so much. Just like, oh my goodness, we got to turn this thing on because we're having a conversation. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Mama Neff from Partlow Art with the fabulous Jaki-Terry, actor, director, playwright, poet, theater scholar, dancer, singer, all that. And we have been showing up for this 52-week challenge, sharing our work. I am making a new piece of art every week and sharing that. And Jackie is speaking to the things that she loves about her work, as well as her vast catalog of artistic work. And we're talking about process and practices that not only sustain us, but all of the processes and practices we employ, which takes up like 95% of our life space, to bring all of the public facing art to you, all of the shows, exhibits, the plays. We're talking about that process. And so we were just having a conversation before we turned this on about, I was saying, I had to become aware as an artist of all of the ways that I was tethered to the Euro power dynamic paradigm as an artist, and how I had to become conscious of that so that I could free myself and be emancipated from all of that in order to enjoy collaboration where there's no competition, you know? Where you're just there for the joy of it. You're there for the play, for like the joyful play of discovering and seeing that other person, if you're on the stage, like do something that just blows you away and you get excited and you just, that's the thing. I heard Austin Butler talking about doing, I think it was The Iceman Cometh on Broadway with Denzel Washington, and how he would just like, he had a small part, but he would just show up and be there whenever Denzel was on the stage because he was just like, he just wanted to see it, you know, that kind of thing. Talking about the Do-Si-Do exhibit, Jenny O'Grady, artist, bookmaker, poet extraordinaire. She and I partnered up 2018 to create a book art show, and how just, you all should be so lucky to have a partner that is just play and deep, deep, deep love of each other's work, where you're so inspired. And it's not about, oh, your stuff better than mine. Oh, I don't know that. It's not about any of that. It's just about just being inspired, where your heart is so joyful. Just to be in the room with the person and see what they're doing and what they're using in their process. And, you know, it's just wonderful. Process. Finding your process and finding the culture of your process that embodies those values that are important, those human values, those spiritual and human values that are important for you. Harmony. And love for me. And harmony, love, and peace. It's got to be there.
Gotta.
Or else it ain't fun.
It ain't fun, it's work. And for real, somebody told me a long time ago, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I like the concept because it's fun, it's exploratory. Your inner child gets to play and heal at the same time. Yes. Which is one of the benefits of it. And you get to stand in awe of another person's process, and you have to connect with that energy for the sake of telling the story. Yes. From the actor standpoint, just for the sake of telling the story. Even if you know the story from front to back and back to front, it's not about, let's get to the end of the story. It's like, this moment right now is what counts. This scene, this French scene right now is what counts. And I got a verb and you got a verb, and what do you want and what do I want and how do we go about getting it? And that push forward, that process, the breakthroughs are just there are no words. You just
Yeah.
have to be in the moment. You really just have to be in the moment. So one of the things I really enjoyed, I got to do more of in grad school than I did in undergrad, was scene study.
Yeah.
And for that, I got to shout out my girl, Norma Saldivar. And oh yeah, Norma, whoo.
Mhm.
Norma was demanding. So much so that we would watch movies, and her big thing, she was big on film noir, huge on film noir. But she said, I don't care how many times you watch a movie or see a play or whatever, you should always walk away with a new discovery.
That's right.
And I tell you, no truer words have ever stuck to me more
Mhm.
than that. So
Mhm.
now, so much so that my sister, when she was alive, would always tell me, "You don't watch movies, you study characters." She said, "You might
Yes.
watch that movie the first time." She said, "But that second and third time, you analyze, and so I can watch your eyes. You just,
Yeah. See, that's why people like you and I can hang
yeah,
together because we go see a movie, as you well know, 3, 4, 5 times. First time, just like, well, I'm landing in it. It's like, well, I'm coming
story,
back. The
yeah,
second time, I'm listening to the script. And the third time, I'm looking at that character. And the fourth time may be that character. And then I may be looking at the cinematography, and it's just like, wow.
or a delivery of how they delivered the line, or the
Yes.
way the person way in the back who ain't got no lines, how they have to show up when they show up because they're part of the story too.
Yes. And what they're
You
doing.
know, yeah, what you doing and why you here? Oh, you supposed to be here because in order for this to happen over here, we need you. And okay, and in nature, you're not important. You are still a part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are no unimportant people
No, you know
ever.
what one play, because there are a lot of them. I'm thinking about my mother taking me to see Timbuktu with Eartha
Mm,
Kitt.
mm.
And then all of those people and dancers who were directed by Jeffrey Holder.
Oh yeah.
And the way they would, and I was just mesmerized because they had those costumes, right?
Mm. Yes, Lord.
And fast forward more recently with the stage production of Hamilton. And so watch it, but then just several times I just watched the dancers, like the gazillion and one things that they were doing with hands, with heads, with feet, with face, and you just fall in love with it. When you fall in love with it, whether it's a film or a play or a choreographed piece of dance, or a visual piece. How can you be jealous of, or, like whatever, but the artist, when all of that brilliance is there? It's an invitation. I think what we do when we step inside of that creative energy, it's simultaneous we simultaneously open a door. It's a two-way door. Looks like a double door. We're opening the door to ourselves and going and digging and reaching in. I recently heard conversation between Samuel Jackson and Viola Davis, listening to her any day talking about the craft, the process,
Oh yeah.
the practice. And then there's this other door that opens that allows people in.
Yeah.
And invites them in. It not allows it, but invites them in. So that's a real complex thing that I love about actors. And watching that. And when you can see,
Because you're aware that you're there, but at the same token, I can't act like you're there. So it's kind of like you, the audience, get to be the voyeurs. You get to look in on the process. But I dare say some of the best work I've ever done never hit the stage. It is always in rehearsal. It is always in the rehearsal and in the process of discovery. And it becomes very important because when you're in grad school, you run your stage like you do a regular union shop. So you got 30 days to put a piece up.
Yeah.
That's like off book, lines memorized, block and memorize. Let's get all that out of the way so we can play. And sometimes you wonder who's having the most fun. Is the director having fun or are the actors? It's all about, yeah, man, because all the
It's a
time,
groovy thing when both are, or everybody
it can
is
be
like,
both. I remember when I did Ma Rainey and the director was my academic advisor, Patrick Sims. We had a scene where I had to learn how to do the black bottom. So we brought somebody in to choreograph it, but in the interim, he just started to put some music on and just decided, because he old Chicago boy. So he decided just to spin me out on the floor. We was just gonna step, you know, just step. And it ain't had nothing to do with the show. But it got my mind ready. You know what I'm saying? So it's those kinds of things, process, you know, that gets you engaged and get you ready and get you in character and make those amazing discoveries and get to rest inside of that character and inside her thought process and her journey and all of that. So what you get on the stage is the end result of a whole lot of
Yeah,
prep.
yes. That
As a
feels
matter of
like what
fact, for
happens
that
to
particular
me.
piece,
I'm sorry, go
yeah.
on. I'm sorry, what were you
Matter of
saying?
fact, as a matter of fact, for that particular piece, for the first semester that I knew, because that was that was part one of my master's thesis. The second part was written, but the first part was actually performance. And for my last semester, my 5th semester in grad school, I did nothing but listen to Ma Rainey's work. Because not only I had to know her music and how she sang it, I had to learn how she talked. What does a woman from Columbus, Georgia sound like? You know, and walking around in my house just
immersed
as I'm running lines, just immersing not only in the language of it, not just the music of it, but her whole physicality, just everything. So by the time we came January, when we went up, because we had to go up in February because it was Black History Month. So by the time we went up in February, I mean, I was mine.
I know that's right.
You know?
Yeah, that piece that's so similar to times when I'm working on a piece and I'm so immersed in it that I lose time. And that thing happens and it goes in another gear or another level or something where I lose track of time and I get really tired. I fall asleep and I wake up and I'm back right at it. Those times when it end, you know, and then before I get there, it's like the little pieces. I'm working on several pieces simultaneously, but it's like the listening and just the sitting and the contemplating, similar to the way you contemplate a line to really study or a monologue to study and what it's calling for. Same with me, I may have some wood. I'm looking at this cigar box. So it's like, and I'm just sitting sometimes with the same piece of wood and just listening. And then something happens. It takes your attention. These creative processes require our undivided attention.
And the bringing of your full self.
And the bringing of your full self, because the muse is like, okay, well, your eyes are doing like this. Okay, I'll let you get some sleep. And your first conscious thought, I got to get back, right? Because it's living us.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
It's living when that point comes, like you said, and you're doing your best work behind the scenes. When it comes and you are moving through a day and you're all into that thing, you're all into that person, you're all into that scene, you're all into like, you can't, you know, I have to sometimes discipline myself. A lot of times I won't, go and do other things when I'm working on something and I'm in the pocket because I know I'm too distracted. But it's like it just brings all of us. And here's the thing. This is the thing. I'm working on an essay about this. It's coming.
Okay.
I once asked my friend Burnett Lee Jones, the senior minister of the One God, One Thought Center for Better Living here in Baltimore. We were having a conversation about how ministers get paid and what they get, like the time, because that's a job. Churches and spiritual centers, it's a business. It's spiritual, religious business. It's business. And I was like, well, don't you get paid 24/7, 7 days a week for what you do? Because if you have the responsibility, the care, and the responsibility for the spiritual life of your congregants, it's not like you just turn that off after Sunday or whatever, or, when you're not there physically there in your office, pastoring people, counseling people, preparing for the sermons and all the 1,000 things. But it's like, it's 24/7. It's the same with us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, before I leave this body, I intend to do something about that. If nothing else, to elevate that conversation to a national level, the way other folk value us.
Mm-hmm.
They can't pay us enough for what we do. And if they did, really, they can't pay us enough. 24/7 work.
But it also comes to,
I'm sorry, let me just say this. If you're in a play and you've been working on that play for 3 months, that's 24 hours times whatever your hourly fee is for 3 months. Seriously.
I agree. But it doesn't come legit until you sign that contract and fill out that I-9. Now it's business. But even at that, you have to bring a sense of value to what you bring. But the other side of it is you best deliver.
Yes, right. Yes.
You better deliver the goods. You better be who you say you are on paper. And that's where the work comes in. That's where the professionalism comes in. That's where all of that comes in. But yeah, that conversation has to happen. And it's challenging because you might have a standard for what you do. But then you got fellow artists who are like, well, look, for real, I'm trying to eat. I'm trying to pay bills. I'm 3 months behind on my rent. Hey, this job came through and I know, it ain't what I want to do, but it is what it is. This is the life I signed up for. And then there's some of us who are like, you know what? I ain't that hungry yet.
Yeah.
I'm just not that hungry yet. I'll find something else to do.
That's such a good point.
Yeah, so that will always be the challenge when there's somebody willing to do what you want. But there's the other side of it is who gets to hold the line of integrity and who gets to hold the line for upholding a standard if there's a standard to be had.
Yes.
Otherwise you don't get the Chadwick Bosemans, you don't get the Viola Davises, you don't get Denzel, you don't get James Earl Jones, you don't get them folk.
You don't get Ruby D, you don't get,
You don't get them.
I think going back to artists in the center, we get to determine those standards. We get to determine those standards first. Because those of us who doing what we do and know the work and are humble enough to listen and adhere to the advice and experience of those who've been doing it longer, so we can learn from them, but we get to determine our standards. We do.
What would help, and that's going to be a constant conversation, is if your fellow artists would hold to the same line, because now you're coming in unified. You see what I'm saying? Now you coming in, you all, it becomes, and rather it being the competition that the dominant culture has taught us to be, it becomes an issue of, well, if you eat, I'll eat.
Yeah.
And everybody eats. There's enough for
Mhm.
everybody. There's enough work for everybody. There's enough food on the table for everybody. There's enough money to be had by everybody. But somebody has to be up. These are the boundaries. These are the parameters by which I will do what I do. And I will not compromise.
Yes. I'm loving this paradigm we're creating. This reality that we're creating. I already believe we carry it with us where we go too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's another long conversation.
Yeah. I have a book I would like to recommend for anybody who is really, really interested in scene study. And I got this book in my first year in graduate school. It's called Backwards and Forwards by David Ball. Little tiny book. But it's a nice point of entry to get into for how you break down the character. And I'm not even going to tell you what it's about. Just read the book.
Oh, okay.
Read the book. Because it's a small enough book, but it's a powerful book. Follow the instructions and the thought process that David Ball goes through for how to analyze a character. Okay. How to analyze a scene. And then yeah.
You have the book with you?
I don't have the book with me, but you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Thrift Books. You can find it secondhand. It's also on Audible.
Okay, great.
For those,
y'all got that? Y'all got that? I hope y'all got that.
I also had to find myself sitting in gratitude for the experiences that I had, and somebody gave me this piece of advice. It's a very good affirmation. And it's written by an Andrea Dykstra. And she says, in order to love who you are, you cannot hate the experiences that shaped you.
That's right. Gotta embrace it all.
Yeah.
Very, very wise woman. Audrey Scott Williams, renowned spiritual leader, visionary, author, taught me that years ago. And about loving my whole self.
Yes.
And Nefertiti, you gotta love the parts that you see as flawed along with the other parts that you love. You can't throw parts of you away. You gotta embrace all of you.
All of it. Yeah.
All of it. In a culture
that also goes for your experiences too.
To deny those parts, to stuff those parts, to when they come out to feel remorse, that you gotta just embrace all of who you are. Bring all of who you are into the present, into your experience. And it was one of the most important teachings I've had in my life, you know, toward living and being fully accepting of myself, warts and all. You know, and there are days when I don't like myself, days that I don't like what's coming out of this mouth, you know. The difference between me now and me 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I would get remorseful and just like, oh, I'm such a horrible person, and then plummet into depression and be in the bed for weeks. You know, and me now it's like pausing and really looking at, wow, I really said that. I really did that. Doing my Ho'oponopono work. The apology, you know, being able to apologize when apologies are really, really necessary, you know, being open to having those discussions with other people when I'm not aware, you know, that I've done, said, or been something, and then learn from it and embrace that part of me and transmute it with love.
Yeah.
Transmute it with love. And that makes me feel real secure in myself these days.
I hear that.
It makes me feel like, okay, you know, warts and all, and I'm showing up, and it gives me more access to stuff as an artist. because I'm not afraid of being vulnerable anymore. I'm not afraid of being wrong anymore. I'm not afraid of being, goofy or whatever, any of that. I'm not afraid anymore of that. And so it makes so much more available and accessible to me. And I'm able to see a thing and see it from so many different ways and ways of being and what it is, because the blinders, the older I get, more and more of the blinders just come off, they fall off. And I think there's something to be said about just being, 60 something, 67, there are a lot of things I really do give zeros about at this point. And I'm just giving myself permission.
Yeah.
Giving myself permission to be,
and to continue.
And to continue.
Yeah.
Because my work, I can look at my work and I see a difference. I see a difference. And I think one of the great things that my spiritual, emotional maturity gives me is just a genuine curiosity without fear. I'm not worried about the success of anything I make anymore, and how people would compare, even when sometimes a little thick jump up, I hear that, but that's not where I am. To really, really be, for the first time in my life, fully present as an artist, to know what this means. Like, this is how I was made.
This is your assignment.
This is my assignment, and this is my contribution, and the fact that I can be
absolutely
fully, without fear, without just and the willingness to share, which is what this 52-week art challenge is all about. Just the willingness to share. Nothing I make sells or whatever, that is not even the point. It's just the sharing of it.
Yeah.
Because I can. We're just treading in deep, deep territory. So, okay. I don't know how many weeks. This may go on for the next, however many, it's 52 minus 4 is what, 48 weeks? We're going to talk about scene study. Well, Jack is going to talk about scene study, and I'm going to ooh and ah and like scream and holler, and she, brings forth scenes and actors that I love, as well as you tell them what you're going to talk about. I'm over here telling them what you're going to talk about.
I like to talk about the actors process, and I like to be able to talk about movies that I go back constantly to watch, to study, and make new discoveries of, and artists who I feel like should have gotten their roses and haven't.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, can we have a conversation about Don Cheadle? Can we have a conversation about Kimberly Elise? Can we have a conversation about John Malkovich? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of artists out there that never got their due, in my humble opinion, that I find absolutely magnificent on stage, on screen, or whenever I find them.
Whenever they show up.
Wherever they show up, I'm making my business to be somewhere in their presence and just absorbing all of that.
Yeah. I find myself, because those three among several, I find myself holding hope for them.
Still.
Yeah, because it's like, oh gosh,
Look how long it took Angela Bassett to finally get a mention at the Oscars. Not like the lady ain't been absolutely thrown down forever.
Between What's Love Got to Do with It, and now it's been like, what, 2,588
Girl,
years?
can we go back? Can we really go back to when she was in Boys in the Hood? Oh, when she played Betty Shabazz and
X, I
Malcolm
was gonna
X.
say X.
Come on. Okay.
Ooh. Oh, I'm remembering some of those scenes that she
Or
did
when
with
she played
Denzel.
Katherine Jackson or Violetta Wallace in Notorious. I mean, the woman has been throwing down consistently since the 80s.
Impeccable work.
I mean, flawless.
Impeccable. And Don Cheadle.
Devil in the Blue Dress, first time I remember seeing him. And it's like,
Mouse, what? I went and read everything I could read. I'm mostly after Denzel was
absolutely.
but that Don Cheadle. It's like, because I wanted to, like, wow, that character actor, like, okay, it led me to more of Mosley, but then it also led me to
What else he doing? Yeah, what else is he doing?
What's the film he did with Taraji P. Henson on the music when he played the DJ? What's the name? We'll have that for you all when we come back.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. But I just got finished watching him with Tommy Lee Jones, Volcano.
I was just like dumbfounded when he didn't get nominated. I was just like,
Hotel Rwanda. I mean, the Academy put him against Jamie Foxx and Ray. It's like, come on, y'all.
Couldn't they have released that film at another time? See, this is another thing about artists being in the center,
Mm-hmm.
Determining criteria and stuff. Determining, oh yeah, well, you know what, let's hold this movie, put this one, so that
let this one shine. Exactly. So yeah, it's a lot of artists that I'm like, y'all been throwing down forever. Anything you drop, if you decide you wanted to go to Sesame Street, I'd be on PBS. You know what I mean? It's it's just because you bring that level of credibility to the craft. I sit in awe of you.
Oh, that's a whole session in itself. All the great artists that did guest appearances on Sesame Street and the Muppets. And
Zoom.
We broke our faces making
sure. And Zoom and the Electric Company. Okay, we grew up with these people. Yeah. So yeah, and they moved on to be,
Screaming.
Okay, Mr. Easy Reader. And then turn around
from that to playing the scariest pimp I've ever seen in a film.
Okay.
The other one next week. We'll have the name of that one.
Okay.
But I think
my favorite for him to this day. One of those movies I like to go back and watch time and again is Shawshank Redemption.
Oh,
his storytelling.
And as long as that is, so you do that too. There are times when you just kind of like, go watch that again. They're like, it's like a certain time, like for me, Tolkien. It's something about, I have to read The Hobbit over, but only in the spring for some reason. Doesn't work as well for me. There is something about seeing Shawshank Redemption at a certain time. It's just like it's a ritual.
It is. Or The Godfather. Anytime. Pacino, please. Yes, please. In copious amounts. And that whole cast.
Anyway, oh my goodness gracious. Are y'all loving
it? We got a lot to talk about.
Intro to what's to come. It's Super Bowl Sunday, By the time we post this, I'm gonna wait. Super Bowl will be over. What else? Yeah, so I was going to show the film thing, but I think I'll wait to the scene to show that scene I was going to show, so we can do it rightfully in that context.
Okay.
We're just inviting y'all. We're seating you all. If you like this conversation, come back next time. The piece. Where is this? It evolved. I got something to show you. You're gonna laugh. Where is it? So last week I stumbled, didn't intend it. Remember this? This card, it was a patch. It was just a patch on canvas. It evolved, and then it became a card like that. Yes, which I love that. Like you said, the discovery part. See, it happens in this too, because I didn't intend this. When you're sitting there, and then that thing that happens, you're like, oh, this can be a, you know. So, continuing, because I got flat out turned on. Plus, I'm working on like 3 other pieces. So this one, I don't know if you could see it. You know what I'm
Okay.
doing? Reimagining work. This is the original. It's a painting, and this painting is about 24 inches high by 36 or so wide. I was stuck in traffic one day, Jackie. Bumper to bumper. You know, I don't do traffic real well. I get motion sickness. And I was starting to get really, really sick down there on Lombard Street, sandwiched. So I turned on some music. The great Otis Redding's Try Little Tenderness came on. Interesting, because that's one of the songs for me that when I hear it, I have to move. The way it crescendos and builds, it's a masterpiece. And so all of a sudden I'm in the car, and I know the people beside me thought this woman lost her mind, because I'm just spazzing. And then I thought, I'm gonna paint to that song. So there's a video on Partlow Art, when you all can check it out, just me painting to that song, letting the music just move through me and my hands. The piece was, of course, just like, it was just paint. And I brought it home and I set it on a chair across from my table. And after about a week, I started seeing faces and bodies. And I was like, am I losing my Ricardo? My husband, Ricardo. You see people in there. And then whenever people come over, I said, do you all see people in there? So hence, I've called it different things. I think I'm going to call it Ancestors in the Paint. And I'll talk about that title. So that was the original. A painting, acrylic and ink. And then I copied it. You see, I don't know if you could see it, right? You can't really see it because you see the sparkles. You know, I love glitter. You know, I'm a disco queen. I'm still an incarnated disco queen. So I just love the glitter. But the trippy thing about it is, it's like where you hold it in the light, you could see it. So this morning, I went to paint a certain color on it, and the colors had changed. And I don't know if it was the light or what, because it was like, that wasn't yellow over there yesterday. So go figure. And the moral of that is, sometimes you got to let go. When the art is coming through and it ain't what you planned or what you thought, and it's a different element that's coming through that wants to be expressed and wants to be heard. So I'm doing something right now, and I'm going to surprise you, Jackie. Let me see if I can do this real quick, because we want to let people go. Can I do this? Come on, thing. Anyway, I may do it next week. I don't want to keep y'all because I'm still experimenting. I got the wax. Remember we were talking about
wax. Yes, you did.
when the store found the wax. They didn't have any stamps though, but I got.
Okay.
So I'm gonna, and I'll probably show y'all next week. And maybe if I make one more of these, I don't know what I'm making next week, to be honest. But when I get around to this again, I'll show you with the wax and the seal. I got a seal. So yes, but I found it. That's another part of the process.
Yes, it is.
Paying attention, especially people give you like gems and stuff, and that thing was on my mind, and I went in a little paper store and I found it.
You will find it if you go in stuff. Little stores like that carry stuff like that.
You
found it. Yay!
And listening. That's a part of the process. Listening to each other.
Yeah.
And trusting each other. When somebody gives you a little, drop you a little advice, take that in. Thank you. Thank you all for being here and for coming back. Thank you. I am appreciating the love the comments, oh, the commentary, the insight. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All you gotta do is show up, do your art, talk about your art, and watch the magic. All right, so you want some more magic? Come on back next week. We'll be here. We're gonna start talking about, Jackie's gonna talk about, I'm gonna ooh and ah and scream, probably a little bit, some of the scenes. I'm one of those people, you know, you may not want to go to the movies with me because I scream. I'm part of the
You
experience.
can
But
go to
anyway.
movies with me fine, because if I've seen it already, I ain't telling you nothing. Make your own discoveries. I ain't telling you nothing.
I was like,
Make your own discoveries. Why you ain't tell me? Because you paid your money.
Yeah, I wanted you to I wanted to see that reaction, right?
That part. Absolutely.
All right. Love you all so much. Thank you. Till next time, take care of yourselves and much love. Peace.